This is one of the occasions I believe that a game has turned the internet upside down. And that is a very good thing, because it seems that we are seeing this trend more and more, where small studios make big things in this industry that needs these small studios to show the big companies how to make the games. Today's video, we're going to be talking about Fatekeeper, and oh boy do I have a whole bunch of useful, interesting information about this game for you guys, and a whole bunch of juicy details, so let's get right into it. First, we're going to talk about the developers behind this game. This is a game that's under the wing of THQ Nordic, which is very interesting because THQ Nordic has been struggling quite a while lately, or throughout their lifespan, on trying to stay alive and trying to stay afloat on the video gaming industry world. It has been very difficult for them because remember that THQ Nordic has had bankruptcy several times. Many of their franchises, they had to be closed, they had to be sold pieces by pieces. They rose up again and then they had to be salvaged. But I still believe that THQ Nordic makes amazing games with all of the subsidiaries that they have out there. And this is the proof, because they show us that they don't have any issues trying to experiment on new things and going back to the classics. Now, talking about specifically the developers, this is a newly founded studio that is called Paraglacial. Where do they come from? Initially, they come from Grimoire Games, and this is a very small studio. Initially, it was made up by 10, I believe that there were like 12 developers, a very small studio. This is a game that began development back in 2021, and yes, it is an Unreal Engine 5, as you can see right in here with the lighting and the graphical quality in here. That raises a little bit of a flagship alert specifically for the PC gaming community, because while no one can deny that Unreal 5 engine games are the most gorgeous and breathtaking games that you have out there right now, they're also filled with performance and stuttering issues, so that's something to have in mind. And this is a small studio, but that's just a little side note that I wanted to have for you right in there. Back to the game discussion and the developers. They come from Grimoire Games, which the people that develop the lately Spellforce 3 and the reforged edition of the game, which is amazing. And this is where you can see most of the inspiration, and this is where you can see how they blend two amazing games together. Because this is a game stated by the developers and immediately noticed by the community that it looks very much like a Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. And to some people in the gaming community, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic feels like, or is, the game that made first-person RPG games feel great. It's not that they were the first one, but they were the first ones to make the combat and the gameplay be so interactive and feel so good in your hands, in your controller. Now, in a near interview, remember that I'm going to have all of the links for all of my sources in the video description. They have mentioned the people behind Paraglacial. They mentioned that initially the idea of making Fatekeeper was because they thought that Hellraid, the Techland game, was going to finally follow the footsteps of that Arcane classic, to go back to that. Fortunately, it was not that. So they said, you know what, we're going to make our own Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, but now with new technologies and new graphics and new systems and what have you, And this, what you're seeing on screen, this is the result of that. Have in mind that then again, this is a very small studio, the game is not going to be launching anytime soon. It's going to be entering early access first, which is a trend that you can see lately with THQ Nordic, because while they are a huge publisher and while they have the means of being able to put this out there in the world, they're still, remember, a publisher or a company that has struggled quite a lot. It happened to Titan Quest 2, which is going into early access. Then again, usually early access is a tool that they use on Steam to fund the game, to let the people try the game and see for themselves how is it growing, how is it improving. And we have had so many stories of success in here, like for example the one and only Baldur's Gate 3, which was on early access for quite a while before it became the titan of the internet. It is also very interesting to note that in here, because the people at Grimoire Games are also the ones that are developing the early access right now of Titan Quest 2. So that means that at some point while they were doing that transition, 10 to 12 people said, you know what, we don't want that. We want to ask for permission for THQ Nordic to actually try this new stuff, and this is what you have right in here. But initially, something that I would like to point out is that while we do see the inspiration, of course, of Dark Messiah, of Might and Magic, I also would like for you to take a look at these pictures that I'm going to have for you right in here, which are from Spellforce. And this is a correlation that I would like to bring up, because this feels to me not as a bad thing, as an amazing thing actually, as the same thing that happens with Avowed, which then again, I believe Avowed was an amazing game. I thought that it was an amazing game. I feel that it's a good comparison to have right in here, even though that a lot of people do not like the deviation that much from what they wanted to have as a something Bethesda or the Elder Scrolls clone like. Then again, the reason that I bring that up is because while this is not a direct sequel to Spellforce, you will notice that the gameplay and the graphical quality and art direction from Avowed draws directly from that of Pillars of Eternity, that being a direct sequel. This is not a direct sequel from Spellforce, but you can definitely notice that the developers are portraying what they're familiar with, and their inspiration for their graphical art style comes directly from Spellforce, and that is a good thing. How many times have we seen this in the past? I've already mentioned about like that, but remember that also World of Warcraft was a RTS in the first place to begin with. Warcraft 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, and if I believe for World of Warcraft to have become so popular is I myself personally, if I'm talking from my personal opinion, I always wanted to experience Warcraft 3, Warcraft 1, 2, and 3 from a different perspective, be directly here in the world. And I think that this indirectly allows us to do so, because this is not a continuation, this is not a sequel from Spellforce, but you can definitely see the inspiration on the art style and the actual buildings and the architecture and the lighting and how the overall vibe and aesthetic feels, which is amazing. But then again, one of their main inspiration is of course Dark Messiah of Magic, which is amazing as well. Now here's an interview where the people at Glacial offer a little bit of more insights on the game, the mechanics, everything that we should expect, and I think that there's a little bit of some answers that some people would like to have in here. The first one right in here, this being a channel where we have covered Souls-likes extensively, and it's one of our favorite subgenres for RPGs, and we usually cover those games in here. I do believe as well that not everything has to be a flipping Souls-like, and not everything needs to be compared to Souls games, because they are just completely different genres, and they were asked if this was like a Souls-like, because, you know, like, I don't know, dude, it's a redundant question, but I'm glad to see their answer. Some players might see hints of a Souls-like in Fatekeeper's combat, for example, the importance of timing and reading your enemies. While this serves as a base for are engagements, the combat as a whole is very different. It is designed to feel impactful, responsive, and flexible, letting players experiment with builds and approaches. The combat is generally designed to be challenging and meaningful, while not overly punishing in regard to timing and patterns. So what you can see right in here, what you can see along the lines in here, is that it's basically generally a first-person RPG that you have a world out there to explore. While it is going to offer you like the base challenge of a regular first-person RPG, it's still not going to be overly punishing. It's still not going to be filled with punishing boss fights that you're going to have to go over and over and over again. The world, the exploration, the build crafting, all of that is going to be the main core of this game, because that's the essence of these types of games. And fortunately enough, we actually do have a little bit of a hint, or a little bit of a sneak peek into the story. Of course, here's a brief summary of the game's setting without going too much into detail when it comes to the overall deeper lore. Eons ago, a faction of a culture rebelled against the tyrannical overlord and vanished into the planet's deep crust, building a thriving technocratic society in isolation. Millennia later, natural tunnels reopened to the surface, and the clash between pragmatic progress and the newly embraced fates erupted into open conflict. When their ancient kin returned with vengeance, war consumed the lands, claiming the life of the druid who once watched over the region. You are the successor, sent to oversee the boreal archipelago of Solace. As a druid, part of an ancient order forged to enforce the balance across the civilizations through decisive, often ruthless intervention, your mission is to navigate the war-torn lands, uncover the truth behind the conflict, and restore order to a world left fractured by rebellion and war. Finally, the juicy meat of everything, the character building, what we love. That's one of the key point discussions that we have right in here in the channel. How the builds are going to be looking like. Player progression in Fatekeeper is defined by a deep, flexible skill tree that supports widely different playstyles. While every character begins with access to both magic and melee combat, the paths you choose can transform you into anything from a hulking hammer-wielding brute to a cunning alchemist, a raging pyromancer, or something entirely your own. And oh boy, am I so happy to see this right in here, because that's also what I love about this game, is the freedom of gameplay choices that you have out there. Now the most recent title that I can compare this thing to, it's Tainted Grail, The Fall of Babylon, and the amount of builds and how much you can do with how you start and how you change, having one sword in your hands, one spell on the other, combine them, do something completely your style. This is what defines the exploration as well aspect in here, because exploring the world gives you access to new tools. Maybe you found a very cool weapon or a very cool spell that you say, hey, I want to use this. So you can start like having a 200 and that end up being a pyromancer that you built along the way. One more thing, one final note that I would like to add right in here is that usually the fact that how much tracking this game is having, this game is blowing the internet right now, and for good reasons. And that is very good, because it has happened in the past where small studios become very big because of the reception and the support that we give to the game. I don't think that we need to be asking for support for this game, because I know that as soon as this thing hits early access, people are going to flood into this game. And this is something that has been in development for about 4 years now. It is going to have more support into the early access, and I think that if it does good in early access, we're going to have a much more bigger and polished game. And remember that the developers did say that as soon as the game exits early access, it is also going to be coming to consoles, so everyone's happy. Anyways, you like the content, you like it, never appreciate it. Not only that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person, you're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, you're on Discord, and a beautiful day, goodbye.